Hey, this is Pat Murphy-Racey, Sony Artisan of Imagery. I'm so happy to have with me one of the very best artisans of all of us, Bob Krist, who is really known far and wide, initially for his still photography at National Geographic, but now he's making quite a nice name for himself as a videographer. And he and I share something that a few of the artisans are kind of into, and that is the APS-C cameras. And I came into the Sony system with the original A99, and then as soon as the A6000 came out, I got all excited and jumped at that. And that led me into what became the infancy of the entire system. And so every time I pick up one of the APS-C cameras, I feel like I'm picking up my own history in Sony. It's kind of fun. But I wanted to ask you, Bob, about your entry into Sony. How did that happen, and what camera did you start with?
Well, I was, an endorser for another brand of camera, a DSLR, and one of my biggest and best and most fun clients started to request video from me on these trips. These were high-end private charter jet trips all around the world, very expensive trips, and I would do marketing photography for them and give presentations and stuff. But then they said, "Can you shoot some video?" And I said, "Sure." And the first time I shot video was with the DSLR, and I had to lock up the mirror and we're in the tropics a lot on these things, and put on the loop on the back of the thing so I could see, and then flip it down to shoot stills. And after that first trip, because the hallmark of these trips is they go fast. Almost one country a day. So you don't have a lot of time to leisurely, say, well, today I'm going to shoot video, tomorrow I'll shoot stills. It's like, the cultural dance is going on. You got to get stills and video at the same time. So, and also I wanted to do some slow motion in HD at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, the brand of camera I was with did not offer slow motion. And I spoke with some friends, and they said, well, why don't you pick up a Sony NEX5 body and an adapter, and you can use your current lenses, and then you can get slow motion, and you can go back and forth seamlessly to stills. And I said, okay. So I bought a Sony NEX5, and I mean, it was like as big as a cell phone. I was like,
Yeah.
what is this camera? And I don't know if you remember, I don't know if I've got the model number right, but this was the one that had, you could slip in that auxiliary viewfinder. It didn't have a
Yes.
viewfinder, but
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
God, did I love that. I
Yeah.
wish we could do it today.
I know. I
So,
know.
so I got the viewfinder, and I went on that first assignment, and it was just a revelation. I was
Yeah.
flipping seamlessly back and forth between video and stills. I was shooting beautiful 60 frame HD slow motion of, the dancers doing the thing, and, all the action, the wildlife things. And I came back, and I said, oh my word, this is, so
Yeah.
I bought a second body, and
Yeah.
then I said, I don't, I don't want to have to focus anymore. And these
Hmm.
these native lenses are so small and
They're tiny.
autofocus. So I completely, the next 6 months later, on my next assignment for them, I was completely Sony, but I was still kind of on the roster of the other company. So I was in the closet for 2 years as a Sony user, but I started with the NEX5 or 5N. I forget which one it was. So I started way back when, and haven't looked back since.
We got to talk about two lenses that I know you love because I love them too, and that's the 24-1.8 Zeiss and
Hmm.
the 10 to 18 f4.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, awesome.
I mean, that 10 to 18 was, lived on one body, because I don't know if it's because, both you and I come from a still background, but I like ultra wide. A lot of
Mhm.
my video and filmmaking friends, they could live without anything wider than a 35. I swear to
Yeah,
God.
I agree. Yeah, I
I don't
agree.
see the world that way. I need to, kick wide a lot, just for establishing shots, just for unusual angles. So the 10 through 18, so light, so sharp, that
Yeah,
the optical stabilization in the lens, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And of course the 24-1.8 is a 35,
yeah,
35 millimeter
It's
speed.
the lens for
And
PJ
yeah,
work, you know,
and
street photography,
just
whatever.
it's just terrific, sharp light. And so where I was lacking was in the long end. I didn't have anything that
Hmm.
was equivalent to like the 10 to 18. And honest to God, and if the Sony gods are listening, they still don't. What we need for APS-C is a nice compact like 70 to 150 3.5 or
Yes.
something,
Yeah.
just to cover that. We've got
Right.
that. We had my holy trinity in APS-C was the 10 through 18, the 16 to 70 f4, uh,
Zeiss. Yep.
yeah, Zeiss sonar, whatever. And
And then you jump all the way to the 7200 f4, which is too
exactly, and,
long.
and it's
Yep.
too long, and it's too much bigger than everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I agree.
so, uh,
Yeah.
so I wanted something in that holy trinity that was the same kind of size and weight and quality as we got from those other two.
Yeah.
So it's been a long dry period for that particular lens.
It's true. It's true. At least
Um,
they made the 16 to 55 2.8. They finally made that, which was
yes, yeah, and
long.
that is a
That,
terrific lens. That
yeah,
is
it is.
super sharp and really, really
Yeah.
built like a tank. Terrific. And I tell you what, other lens I really enjoy is the what is it, the 70 to 350,
Yes.
because on
Yes.
APS-C now this gets me out to the 500 millimeter
It's
uh,
primo. Yeah.
thing. And as you
Yep.
know, and I know it's a kind of a joke among our artisan brethren, the camera that I love above all still is the RX10-4 with its,
Oh, yeah.
the 1-inch sensor and the
Oh,
24
yeah.
600 millimeter lens. I don't know what it is, but once you get hooked into having that kind of range,
Yep.
it's unbelievable. Like the
Yeah.
other day, I was shooting. I'm shooting a documentary about a renowned and very old school boat builder up here in Maine. And I
Okay.
went down to the lobster dock at twilight, and there was a boat coming in, and the light was beautiful and everything. So I'm up on the top of the dock, and with that particular camera, I get 600 millimeter shot of the boat coming in. Then it comes
Yeah.
in, it docks, and I'm back to about 135. Then the captain and his son, and I'm doing it. I get the close up of the captain, close up of the son, close up of the hands, and I
Man.
haven't moved, So
As we get older, that's important, isn't it, Bob?
well, it is. And, run and gun video, as you know, in video, when you're shooting documentaries, you need to break everything down into sequences. So it's no
Right.
good just getting that one shot. And then, if you're going to be changing lenses on a blowing dock and everything with the wind and stuff, you're going to get dust and everything. So that's one of the reasons why I love that particular setup. But when you have the 75 to 350 on one of your APS bodies
You don't have
and
to
the
change.
55 on the other, this business of shooting with two bodies is also a holdover from
Yeah.
still shooting days, because
Yeah,
it's what we
exactly.
did in the newspaper. I mean, when I started in the newspaper world in the 70s, I had a 24 on one body and a 100 on the other body. It's funny, I started with Minolta, which later became Sony, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and I would rarely take either one of those lenses off. So I've
Right.
always had, and then when the zooms got good, it was like a wide angle zoom on one body and a tele zoom on the other. And with those two lenses with the APS-C, we've got the kind of coverage that I kind of grew to get used to
Right.
with the RX10-4.
I agree. The one thing you didn't mention about the DSLR days with the video is that you probably had to manually focus everything,
Mm-hmm.
because there really wasn't a way to do that. And
Oh
I
yeah.
stumbled into Sony through Googling the term face detect autofocus. That's how I discovered Sony.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I was like, holy crap, you mean this exists?
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
no,
that's
it
cool.
was it was even back before they had even just their autofocus in the beginning. It was always
It was always excellent.
terrific
Yeah.
compared to what we're used to. And now, oh my God, it's so much more faster and more accurate than I ever was, even in my prime.
Yes. Yes.
So
Part of the reason I wanted to do this video is I have been learning about the back end of YouTube. I'm a YouTuber, but I'm not very good at it. And I'm not really an influencer. I'm more a photographer than anything else. But I discovered that when you put in Sony camera into the algorithm and the search engine at YouTube, it came up with, the first camera it came up with was a6600. And so I really wanted to spend some time talking to you about specifically the a6600 and how it's sort of, it's like the granddaddy of the a6000 and even the ones before that you mentioned you shot. And just how good it is. Like, we got a better sensor in the a6300 and a64, but the a66 was like a really tremendous camera. We got the good battery,
Yeah, we got, I mean, there was a couple of key things with that improvement, and it ticked off all the boxes. It was the camera I was ready to go to my grave with until they started making full frame a little smaller. But for the following reasons: the bigger battery, they put in a headphone jack as well as the mic jack, right? And I know this is heresy, especially on YouTube, but the flip out screen, if you're not a vlogger, the flip out screen is pointless. And the flip up screen is so much more secure and easier to shoot with and everything like that. So it had a regular flip up screen. And its autofocus is pretty damn speedy. And that was it. With those two other lenses and that body, that was it. And then the A7C came out, and then they started making those super duper compact full frame primes that are so tiny and so sharp and everything.
Yes.
So they keep ruining my life with innovation.
Yes, me too, in my pocketbook.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, if it's all right, what I want to do is go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. You were kind enough to send me some pictures. And what I wanted to do is just go through the images that you sent me and just have you talk about maybe the focal length you chose and just different things like that. And this is all a6600, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So I think you should be seeing, are you seeing just the image?
Yeah, I'm seeing the bamboo
Perfect.
Bamboo thing in Kyoto. And again, this was shot for on one of those private jet trips. So again, wonderful locations, but only staying a day or two in each place. So you don't have a second chance to go back. You don't have a second chance to shoot stills and video. And the weather was okay. But here I chose the 10 through 18 because I wanted to get the sweep of the bamboo, and just tilted it up. And I had shot several passes with video with a small gimbal walking down there with the same.
I bet that looks sweet. Yeah.
Oh, it did. Man. And then I got because I have 70-year-old knees and walk like a drunken sailor anyway. I got one of the rickshaw guys to wheel me down.
Oh, yeah. Gimbal. The original gimbal.
I have not mastered the ninja walk. My ninja walk looks like a drunken sailor stumble. So
I do a lot of work with higher education, and I'm always calling art directors saying, "Hey, do you guys have a wheelchair?" They're like, "Oh my God, are you all right?"
Yeah, right. And that's the trick that nobody knows. Every institution has a wheelchair, and it's the world's cheapest.
You just gotta find it.
I've shot for many wheelchairs, voluntarily because of that smoothness that it gives you.
Yeah,
sometimes you don't even need a gimbal if you have good, stabilization and a wide lens. You can hold it steady. If somebody can wheel you, it's great.
As long as the sidewalk cracks aren't too bad, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sidewalk cracks. It's better. Like, I first learned about it. I was doing something, and I saw a film crew doing something in a gym, and they did it. They were doing it off a wheelchair, and I said,
perfect. Yeah, it's ideal. It's ideal.
So here's another,
go ahead.
Here's another 6600, another jet trip stop. Now we're in the Maldives, and the sun is setting. Same combination. I think the 16, the 10 through 18 f4, and this was funny because this was a young married couple, and I called her in my mind, not out loud. I called her in my mind Instagram Bridezilla.
Oh my gosh! Oh no!
Torturing her husband to get Instagram, shots for her gram. So she would be strutting around, and then she'd run and check, and she'd say, no, 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 wait for the, and she was yelling at him. He was not satisfying her in an Instagram
Oh my
way.
gosh. I hope the
Meanwhile,
marriage made it.
he's running back and forth, and I'm like, oh, sweet God, she's giving me just the human figure I need for this sunset, for scale and everything. So I said, I said in my mind, I said, just keep yelling at your husband, going back and checking, because the more times she walked back and forth, the more cracks
Better
I
your shot got. Yeah,
language.
I love it.
And, she walked a little closer, so the mirror image worked a little better. And again, the zoom helps you frame it up real fast. And, this is relatively low light, but I think I'm still shooting ISO 100. Yeah, how do you like that?
Yeah.
So
one other thing I noticed about the way you do exposure is kind of interesting. You're almost always an after priority, and then you just ride the exposure compensation.
Yes.
Which is basically shooting in manual, but you're letting the camera do most of the work, and then you're just making a final adjustment. It's cool.
The fast move, and then I'm on that exposure compensation dial really all the time.
Right.
And that's one of the it's one of the things about the A6600. I wish they had put the exposure compensation dial on the top of the body, they do in the A7C, and they do in the RX series, the RX10 series.
So handy.
But I've learned to live with it. And I watch a lot of YouTube to train myself mostly in video. And I'm not a video expert, but I have some experience in photography, and I know bull when I hear it in photography. And there's a little too much worshiping of full frame and talking about sorry,
it's okay,
that'll ring out. Saying, oh, you can't do professional work if you don't have full frame. And I think back to when the Geographic started doing digital coverage. All of us were shooting the digital SLRs that didn't offer full frame. So there were stories, beautiful stories shot by Bill
shot at 2x. Yeah.
The D70, an Nikon D70, and on a crop sensor. And all these experts are saying, oh, noise and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, come on, really? It's only other YouTubers that go into the corners and peep the pixels and stuff.
Right.
People, the general public, look at a picture, it's sharp, it appeals, it grabs their attention for a number of reasons, and probably about 101 on a list of 100 is, what format is this? Does it have enough bokeh? Or is the bokeh round enough? It's just nobody looked at pictures that way. There are things
we're gonna get banned from YouTube for all we're doing. We're like totally.
Well, I know, but that's okay. That's okay. So anyway, so just a word. This thing about, are you going to graduate to full frame? No, it's not graduation. No. It's just
a different tool.
Different tool. And I got to tell you, in my whole career, mobility has been the most important thing.
Right.
Not, I always say to my students, which tripod is better? The giant professional tripod that you leave in the trunk of the car, or the small little carbon fiber one that you'll actually take with you? Same thing with lenses. I had a guy on one of these jet trips, and as you might imagine, it's a very pricey thing. And he was a photography expert, and he had every Sony 2.8 G Master thing, and he had the big A9s or whatever they were. Yeah. And I looked at his backpack, and I said, and he's looking at me, it's like he's checking me out and saying, an RX10 and an A6600?
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy that's leading this thing?
Oh, and by the way, can I borrow some Aleve?
Yeah, well, exactly. So I said, good luck with that. I said, this trip moves fast, and we, neither one of us are spring chickens. So by the time the second stop in 8 stops came, he walked up to me before we disembarked, and he said, what lens will I need for Tanzania? And I was like, well, now, where does it say in my bio that I'm clairvoyant? I said, I don't know what lens we're going to need. We're going to be in marketplaces. We're going to be on safari. You need
That's
everything.
hilarious.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
want to carry everything. So what lens should I take? And I was like, well, Tanzania, take your long lens, And
Yeah.
we would end up leaving most of the stuff on
In the
on
room.
the
Yeah.
plane or in the trunk
Right.
of the car. He left
Right.
a lot of valuable equipment in some dicey neighborhoods and stuff. But that meanwhile, he had a trophy wife who he bought like that little 18-200 and a little A6000 or something.
Oh, and she was tearing
And
it up.
she was ready for everything. And she took photography like you can't
Yep.
believe. She had a great little eye. So at
Yeah.
the end of the whole trip, we have like a laptop gallery, and he had
Mhm.
his identity was that he was Joe Photography. He was Mr. Photographer and stuff. But all the other guests were gathering around his wife's laptop because she was ready for anything. When the cheetah
Yeah.
jumped on the trunk of the Jeep, she had it with her 18,
Right.
and he
Right.
had his 200 to 400 and can only get,
Yeah.
and he didn't ever really cotton on that, it's not always about the biggest and best glass. It's about your ability to adapt quickly. Remember, it's
Right.
not only the strong who survive, it's the most adaptable who survive. But anyway, okay, so here we are. I'm sorry, I talk a lot.
No, it's okay.
So here we are in Rio, early morning, and we're going up to Sugarloaf, and it's foggy, and there are some of my fellow passengers. It was branded as a sunrise, and it was pretty foggy, but the sunrise got pretty good. Now I don't know what lens I have with this aperture
19.
f4. So it's probably the 10 through. Oh no, the 19. So
Yeah.
what would that? Well, anyway, and no, it's the 16 to 7, 16 to
Oh,
74.
yes. Yes. 16, 7.
Here I was interested in the mood of the thing, and of course juxtaposing the little figures against the big figure of Christ, and everybody was looking out, waiting for the sun to rise. But I turned around and saw this, and this was a very kind of moody shot,
Yeah.
and the
Definitely.
sunrise eventually happened. But one of I know he's a hero to most of us in our generation, Jay Maisel. One of
yeah.
his
The
words
real
of
estate
wisdom
magnate.
yeah, if you love
The
the
guy
light,
who originally wrote "Buy low and sell high."
yeah. Oh my God. But he always used to say, whatever light you're working in, always turn around and look backwards and just see what it looks like. And
Right.
and that was I was down on a lower overlook, waiting for the sunrise, and just looked up and said, "Whoa, there's the
Yeah,
shot."
that's cool.
And that's the
That's cool.
6600 too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And here is the sunrise, right?
The reverse angle a little later.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
And
man. Wow.
and so there it is again, and lens 22 millimeters. So that's probably the 16 to 70 f4 again.
Gosh, it's
And
beautiful.
sometimes the clouds, if it's really cloudy, you get the more interesting sunrises and stuff. But we only get one crack at it on these trips.
Yeah.
In a previous life when I worked for the Geographic, you'd be able to go up to the same lookout 7, 10 times
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
the light was right. But on these later things that I'm doing, these jet trips, it is run and gun, literally one
Wow.
crack in and out. It's a tour. It's a tour.
Right.
So
Right.
shooting good travel pictures on essentially a bus tour, that's a challenge. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
another reason why I love the dual combination of the couple of zooms and a couple of bodies, and just be ready for anything.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh wow, here's another version with a
There it
little
is,
tighter.
a little tighter, a
Nice.
little later as the sun's coming.
Wow, orange is gorgeous.
This is just a question of F8 and B there. You got, I didn't do anything that anybody else wouldn't have done in the same place, but you got to be in it to win it, and you got to be ready to respond. So
Yes, beautiful, man. That's really nice. Oh, okay. We're not in Rio anymore.
no, now we're up here in Maine, and this was from a shoot that I actually did for Sony, because among our fellow artisans, I'm known as somewhat of a small format lover. They when they were bringing out the RX 10-4, I'm the guy who got picked to do some of the pre-press photography with it. You know,
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
they give all the glamour boys the top of the line cameras, and then they give Krist the RX stuff. You know, it's okay,
right,
it's all right.
right, right.
So this is just I don't know which lens this is. Probably this is
350.
350. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And that ability to zoom, just reach out like that, I really enjoy it.
We're talking
And
about the 70 to 350 APS-C lens, and I want you to
yeah,
address the 6.3 aperture versus 5.6. Talk about how big of a difference that is in the final image.
it didn't make much difference to me because I'm on auto
Yeah,
ISO, and
yeah,
the ISO performance on these cameras, even the APS-C cameras, is so good
yeah.
compared to what we came from. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think people, younger photographers who never worked in the film world, I don't think they realize when they talk about noise. I was with a very dear friend of mine today, a really great shooter here on the Maine coast, younger guy, he's old as my oldest son, great photographer. And he was matting some prints, and he had this spectacular shot of a full moon rise with a sailboat. And he said, I had to crank the ISO so much and the noise was horrible. And I said, wait a second. I looked over his shoulder and said, what noise? And he's like,
yeah.
"Man." I'm
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
no, that's not, nobody's going to notice that noise,
Yeah, you never
So,
shot Ektachrome 640 in
right.
tungsten.
Or Kodachrome 200. My God almighty.
Yeah,
Oh my God. And yet when it got to the printed page, it didn't look too bad. But I think,
right.
our whole frame of reference about what's
Yeah, it's
acceptable
changed
noise has
radically.
changed.
Yeah,
And I may be too old school as far as that goes, but I think there's way too much pixel peeping on the other extreme.
yeah. I agree. I agree.
Same thing,
Here's
just grabbing
another same lens. Yep.
same late light kind of just grabs, playing on that late sunlight and perspective compression and stuff like that. So
I want to
um,
also mention here you're down exposure compensation -1, one stop down, and that this is kind of, we all do this because we want the correct color. We want that glowing,
yeah,
color. And if you leave the camera on automatic, it's going to mess up. It's going to overexpose this because of
yeah.
all
Well,
the dark
especially something
water.
like this because we know that when you see that bright sunlight juxtaposed against deep black, that even the smartest camera meter is going to say, "Well, I better adjust. I better
Yep.
give him something in those shadows." Well, I don't care about the shadows. I want the color and the detail and the
Yeah.
highlights. So this
Exactly.
is old slide shooting mentality.
Yep. Exactly.
And I live between 0 and -1. Or even minus a third to -1.
hmm
I live in that kind of neighborhood because it just seems to give me, especially for
Well,
video.
we remember what Chrome looks like on a light table, and we try to make our digital images look like
Yeah,
that. That's as
yeah,
simple as that.
yeah. Well, here's a classic main view. Hasn't been shot a million times before. But
Good.
sometimes, as an old acting teacher used to say to me, he said, "You can never underestimate the power of a well-executed cliche." So here
That's
you
it.
have it.
I love it.
We find the reflection, and in order to get the reflection, you have to kind of lay on your belly. And I've shot this over the years, sometimes with people in it and stuff like that. And I just noticed the last time I went down there, getting down on my belly was not a problem. Getting back up was a little bit of a problem.
Yep. Yeah,
But
exactly.
I don't know
And I
where
want to
I'm
mention too, you're down almost 3 stops here. You're
minus two,
two
minus,
point three
yeah, yeah,
stops, which sometimes it takes that because it's
yeah,
just the
yeah,
sky's gonna mess you up, right?
yeah, yeah. So,
Very good. Oh, here's a person.
oh, and there's my buddy Richard. He was visiting with me, and I got him to step in for some. I actually had him walking back and forth for my video, and then he just hit a pose. A lot of us these days are traveling in groups on
Right.
workshops and stuff. And
Yep.
I don't do that much anymore because I'm becoming old and curmudgeonly. But when I worked with the main photo workshop, and I'd take my students down here and we'd shoot, and it's a very popular lighthouse. And sometimes people would get in the picture and there would be cursing and sputtering and stuff
hmm
like that. And I said, look, you have to be a little more zen about this. and use people in your compositions, because the shot before is a well executed cliche that would probably never sell in a stock catalog, but a shot with a lone person in a beautiful landscape can be an ad for take our cholesterol medicine and live long enough
Yes.
to enjoy life. Invest
Right.
with our investments. And so I had one of our students was kind of obnoxious and used to go right where Richard is with his tripod and setup, and everybody else was trying to get, the clean shot. And I said,
Yeah.
look, just put Joe or whatever his name was, just use him as an element. And that shot, none of my Pemaquid Point Lighthouse shots sell as stock because there's too many of them. But the shot of Joe, he was pretty slim and he looked like Joe Photog and stuff.
Yeah.
It's been used for insurance ads, pharmaceutical ads.
That's awesome.
Because it's somebody in the landscape. And in advertising speak, a lone photographer in a beautiful landscape is advertising speak now for somebody who follows their own way,
Independent,
and fulfilled life.
Yes.
We're role models for advertising. If they only knew the rest of it, it wouldn't be true. But we're role models for advertising.
Oh, that's a nice, different angle.
Yeah, different angle. Here's it's probably 10 through 18 again. Yeah. And the mom was showing the kid the little thing there, and I just waited for the light to come on. I think I'm on sticks because, I'm on sticks, and not only am I on sticks, I'm on a slider because I've been doing slide things
video.
Everything now, Pat, is usually video first, still second. So So I shot a couple of slides, and then I just left the camera there and shot some stills. And that's, again, the beauty of mirrorless. It's seamless. And in fact, I know this is supposed to be about APS-C, but one of the beauties of the RX10 is that if you're shooting HD, you can set the camera up to spit out
60p,
17 megapixel JPEGs. So like when I simultaneously. So when I do Africa for that company, and I'm shooting the wildlife with the 24 to 600, I knock it down from 4K to HD. I wish it had 60 frames 4K, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
But then I set it up so when I push the shutter button, it captures a JPEG. And,
so you could actually be doing a slider shot, and in the middle of it, you can hit the shutter button, and it'll take a still.
Or even just, I'm locked onto some animal, and I'm getting movement, and then he looks up, and it's a perfect portrait, and you just while you're shooting, don't stop. You just tap the shutter button, and if you got to tap it lightly because you don't want to shake the camera.
Right, the camera,
but you're literally producing video and stills simultaneously, which is going to be more and more of what's going to be requested of us as clients kind of get hip to the fact how much
you're right
with their marketing. But that's an aside.
Okay.
Same thing here in Maine, foggy morning, using the compression of the telephoto. I'm back across, so I'm compressing that foggy boat against the front of the lobster shack. I don't know what else to say other than, early morning, late afternoon. John Dominus, who was the director of photography of Life, used to have a saying that teachers don't work in the summer and photographers don't work in the middle of the day. And that's not quite true because especially with the way assignments were meted out and everything, I would shoot all my landscapes in the beginning of the day and the end of the day. In the middle of the day, I'd be shooting restaurant interiors and portraits and stuff like that. But the best landscapes, the most moody stuff come right in the beginning and right at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love how you had the assistant up there in the window. That's cool.
Yeah. And boy, did he scream when I took his head off like that.
And another frame, different light, less fog, right?
I messed with the I think with the first one I messed with the light balance and went tungsten. And here I went with to add that blue feeling to the fog, and and here I was trying something different. Verticals are becoming a quick kind of a thing of the past because you remember when we all shot for print, verticals was a full page, and you could get a full page a lot easier than you could get a double page spread.
Yeah.
So my camera lived vertically. If you go back through my older files, I shot as many, if not more, verticals between trying for covers and trying for full pages as opposed
Right.
to half pages.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I shot a lot of verticals. And then as we start showing our stuff on screens, verticals are kind of, you got to pair them with another vertical, or you got to
Yeah.
surround them
Yeah.
with a
It's
lot
true.
of space. So I'm shooting far fewer verticals than I used to, but I love verticals.
Me too. Yeah. What great light here, man. That's
Yeah, a
awesome.
little framing, early light, and minus zero point 0.7 on the exposure again.
Hmm.
I don't know which lens this was. Probably the 16 to
Yeah.
770.
Yeah.
And just using the foreground frame, I had 2 days with the then top secret camera. You know how those shootings go,
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
and
Can't let anybody see it.
yeah, don't let anybody see it, and it hasn't gotten bad, but when I was with my previous camera company, there was a leak site, and I had been testing some new lenses for them in a helicopter. And the kid who was a friend of the helicopter pilot took some pictures over my
Oh
shoulder.
man.
And it was a new
Oh
lens. It was a then new 24 1.4, and it
yeah.
started out this whole guessing game on the Nikon rumors site about what the lens was coming down, and
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
24-1.4, and I was like, oh my god, has it gotten that bad? And it
Yes.
has. I
Yes.
mean, it's
Yes.
like industrial espionage. But one of the
Yeah.
beauties of the A6600 is it looks just like the A6500.
Exactly. Just a
The
piece of gaffer
RX4,
tape and it's all good.
yeah, the RX4 looked just like the RX-10-4 looked just like the RX-10-3. So I was down in Florida on this birding site, and there's everybody around me, and a couple of the old timers had the RX-10-3, and I
Yeah.
had the RX-4 with the faster focusing and everything.
Yep.
But I didn't even bother putting a piece of tape over it because it looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's a
Exactly.
little harder when it's a detachable lens.
That's it. That's it.
A little black and white. I think this is my rich black and white setting.
Yeah. Rich tone, black and white. Oh, we
Yeah,
both love
my
that. I
my
absolutely love it,
goodness
man.
gracious, that picture setting, and it's an amateur picture setting but it's like a
Yeah. It's
HDR black and white.
beautiful.
It has
Yep.
completely rekindled my love of black and
Black
white.
and white.
Because
Yeah.
now I
I
don't have.
agree.
I'm not a darkroom technique. I'm not a Photoshop expert, but I do know a good-looking black and white when I see it. And damn, they
Yeah.
spit right out of the camera with that rich black and white. My
Incredible.
latest book is most everything, the most contemporary stuff, that it's a black and white book. It was all shot this
Oh,
way,
cool.
so the pictures
That's
only
awesome.
exist as JPEGs. So
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I only shoot JPEG. I mean, people think I'm crazy, but I don't.
yeah,
I shoot RAW maybe once or twice a year.
yeah, me too. Me too. When you think you might need to really pull the extremes in dynamic
Yeah.
range and stuff like that.
I
From
like
that
I
same,
like this picture, and you got this one also. And I just think it's cool how you shot two different frames, and and it's also interesting. It's 7:47 a.m. and this is 7:51. So there's 4 minutes difference between these two pictures.
yeah.
That you stayed there for 4 minutes and
Oh,
then
I stayed
worked
there
it some
longer. I
more.
was shooting. I was
Yeah.
shooting video as well, and one thing that shooting video has taught me is to always try to shoot multiple framings, wide, medium, and tight. It's
Yep.
my new
Yep.
mantra. Wide,
Well, then the
medium.
picture editors like you.
Yeah. Well, you know, you do anything you can to keep busy.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I
Yeah,
was
really
shooting
nice.
video and I was shooting um, stills, and I did it the same way for both in motion and in stills.
Yep. Cool.
Another little still life.
It's almost impossible to ignore Old Glory, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it really is.
it's
And with
just such a great.
the
Yeah.
weathered shingles and the side light, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can't beat it.
Mm-mm.
That's one of the reasons why I live up here. I used to teach up at the main photo workshop every summer for about 25 years. And then about 4 years ago, my wife and I we made our winter escape plans. We got a little place down in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. But the summers where I lived in Pennsylvania were getting as oppressive as the winters. And about 4 years ago, we had opportunity to do a house swap and live on the water in Maine. And we were in that house for 3 days. And I looked at my wife and I said, we're moving to Maine. And
Wow.
and
Wow.
we have, up until the pandemic, it was that perfect juxtaposition. The good times in Maine are really good. Then you jump down to Mexico, then you jump back. But COVID kept us in Maine for the whole winter, which
Oh
was all
man.
part of the plan. And
Man.
my Mainer friends tell me that this past winter was very mild, but I don't care if the Black Plague comes back next winter. I'm heading
You go
south.
to Mexico.
Yeah.
That sounds great, man. Okay.
Yeah, little still
This.
lives.
Yep. Yep.
When you're working it, you're trying to show the use the different lenses and everything. So I had, like I said, 2 days, and one of the days was really nice, and one was foggy. So just a foreground background thing. I think this is that 16 to 55.
Okay. Yeah, it's beautiful lens. This is just awesome. I love
Yeah,
this,
early
man.
moments of lobstermen going out, and again, you got to be there. And this is about an hour from where I live. Maine is a coast that's full of these small peninsulas. So you have to
Hmm.
go up one peninsula over to the mainland and down to go down the other peninsula. I can almost throw a rock and hit this place. If I had a boat, it would take me 15
Last
minutes.
time.
Takes
Yeah.
an hour and 15 to drive down there. So that means, you're getting up in the summer sunrise, leaving
Yeah.
the house at 2:33 in the
Oh
morning.
my gosh.
Something that I used to do a lot of, but not so much anymore.
I love how you've got the gutter right here for the double truck. I
Yep.
appreciate
Oh yeah,
that.
that's
And there's a
that's like
headline right
all these
here
things
or
go
down here
crazy.
probably.
Yeah.
And then a
Yeah.
little teaser for what's inside. And then we're going
Yep.
to turn the
Yep.
page and Bob
Room
just
for a
made
headline
1,500
on the
bucks.
top. Yeah. Yeah. It all goes through there.
Yep. That's cool.
Same situation, not as
Yep.
lively, but nicer sky.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I guess that's a 16 cranked open as wide as it'll go. And
I also want to mention that, the A6600 sensor, so many people have the A6000. It's like the Volkswagen Beetle of Sony. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
a lot of people have trouble. I don't know if I want to upgrade. My A6000 is just fine. But the reality is that the sensor is so much more dynamic range in the
yeah.
newer
I
cameras.
mean, it's
This
amazing
is a
what
great example of that.
you dig out of the shadows with that sensor. No, it's the complete. It's the
Yeah.
real deal for me. It's the APS-C pinnacle.
Yep.
I know they'll probably come out. If I think the next level is up in the video to 4K 60 or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
think
awesome.
the holy grail in that way would be for APS-C video shooters would be 4K 60 in that body. So
Yo,
this is
that'd be
a
awesome.
lobsterman dragging the stuff. I'm down low. Again, I'm shooting video and stills, so I'm like, busier than a one-legged man in a butt kicking contest.
Yeah.
Switching back and forth between my user settings and shooting
Sure.
them. And when you're shooting video, you have to try to shoot sequences. So I'm looking
Right.
to cut the action at the same place. So when I shoot my second angle, and I don't know if I sent you the video that went with this. I don't know if we'll get a chance to see it, but I had to be aware of shooting sequences that would cut together as well as shooting stills. So you really got to move quickly
Right.
in these
Right.
situations.
Okay. There's that light again. Oh
There's
man,
that,
that's
and
awesome.
there's the other angle. You go from
Yep.
shooting
Boom.
behind him, then
Boom.
over to the side.
Very
And
nice.
as the sun comes up, so it's called. You and I know it as working a situation. You
Hmm.
never just shoot and stop. Because you
Hmm.
never know when the moment is going to
That's
happen,
right.
when you have the moment. And I remember back in the film days, uh, my workshop students used to ask. I called it the batting average question. They'd come up and say, "How many good shots do you get on a roll of 36?" Well,
Yeah.
I get about one or two. They're saying, "I
Sure.
bet you get like 28 or 30." I'm like,
No, I just shoot 50 rolls.
yeah, exactly. It's like, this is not the way you should think about it.
Yeah. No.
Nobody has ever asked a poet or a writer, how many words did you think of to come up with that poem or that,
Right.
it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And I said, instead of thinking of it as a baseball batting average, think of it as home run derby.
Yeah.
Nobody cares how
Yeah.
many times you swing and miss in home run derby. The only thing that counts is how many do you hit over the fence. And that's
Right.
the same thing when you're working a situation. You just keep working and working. And many a writer has said, jotting down notes, I didn't realize that this was a significant quote or observation till I put the story together. And the
Right.
same thing for us shooters. You know, sometimes you'll know if you're experienced enough, you'll know, whoop, ooh, there's a keeper. But a lot of times it'll be as you're going through and saying, oh, wow, look at that. I didn't even realize what was happening when I shot that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always tell students of mine to think when they're covering situations, coverage, and think of it as visual note taking. Don't think of it as
Sure.
what your batting
Right.
average is going to look like on your photographer's baseball card. You know,
Yeah.
it's 24 out of 36 on every roll of film. That's not a
Yeah.
statistic that applies to
Yep.
us.
Yep. Exactly. And here he is
Same,
again.
working the same situation.
Yeah, and
Using
that's the third frame from the same situation. It's really,
same
really great
situation.
example.
Yeah, yeah, and
Very nice.
so we work it when you have action and you have light. It's a gift from above. You know, when
Yes.
beautiful light and somebody's doing something. You know, even more so for video videographers and filmmakers, because you need some action. So when there's lobstermen and you know they're up here, they're pretty cool about being photographed. You wave at them, you smile. You know, I look old enough to be their grandfathers. They're not gonna, you know, they're like, sure, take your pictures, you know,
Hmm.
and you know, I didn't formally ask permission. I just waved and said, mind if we shoot a little? And they're like, have at it. You know, they don't care. Just
Yeah, it's
don't
cool.
get in our way. You know.
Right. Exactly. There's that. Is
Oh,
that the other side of the shack now, right?
well, no, this is a different shack
Different
down in
shack. Okay.
Harpswell,
Okay.
and it's probably one of the most photographed shacks. And here I was playing a little again with vertical and the reflection in the water,
Hmm.
and that's with that 70 to 350, I think.
Yep. And again, I'm seeing the masthead right here, and
Yeah.
then the
Oh, yeah.
UPC
Yeah.
code goes right there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the teasers for the inside story.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice, Bob. Very nice. It's a formula cover.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, that's cool. This is just
This
light.
was
It's just amazing.
last rays of light. We get some fantastic light up here, and again, this is the Kryptstone Bridge. That's the only bridge of its kind. Those are freestanding stones that are
Oh,
stacked
wow.
in a certain way, and I think it's the last one of its kind in the country. And here I'm seeing the light on those chairs, but I'm using the compression of the telephoto to
Yeah.
bring it together. So
Right.
you know, we use the apparent perspective compression to do that whenever we can. Or you know, sometimes if you're emphasizing the foreground with a wide angle, you're using the perspective explosion, or you know, the way that
Yeah.
the wide angle emphasizes the foreground. The telephoto brings it apparently closer, and we
Right.
have to say scientifically apparent perspective compression, because if I took a 24 millimeter
Yeah.
shot from the same point of
Couldn't
view
work.
and cropped it, well, if you
Hmm.
cropped it, it would have the same perspective compression, but it
Oh,
just
right. Right.
really is well hell, you know. So
Right. Right.
anyway,
Very cool. And I think that was the last one. Oh, no, here we go. Yeah.
yep.
Now, this is a very difficult, I mean, not difficult, but it's like really worked out well for you that the exposure was so similar.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And again, I was
wow.
moving around and trying to get as much of the sky out of there as I could, because the
Yeah.
sky was a lot brighter. But
Right.
you know, it's just working the light, working the situation, knowing what you're looking for. And I think, you know, decades of shooting slides has
Oh,
really
yeah.
trained me to look for situations that have dynamic range that I can work with.
Right.
Because remember, we had what, 5 or 6 stops of dynamic range. You know, everybody's saying,
Yeah.
oh, we only have 12 stops of dynamic range. I wish we had 13. And I was like, I would have killed for 7 stops most of my career,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think
So,
Kodachrome 64 had like a stop and a half. It was really, really narrow, wasn't it?
yeah, I think so.
It was,
Yeah.
it was really tough to expose that
Oh,
stuff. But
oh my
anyway,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. There you go.
Yeah. And last light again. Um, And again, the ability to go way out and reach out on that. I don't know what the focal length was on that, but
321.
321. So that's almost, that's a 480 millimeter or something in
Yep.
full frame.
Yep.
Well, I
Exactly.
love that versatility for run and gun. I love it for travel.
Yeah.
So you see a sailboat on the horizon, you zoom out to close to 500. You see something close to you, you're back to 70.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the kind of shooting that I do, that target of opportunity travel stuff, the versatility of these zooms and a pair of zooms is the most versatile.
Right.
A wide angle on one body and a
Yeah.
telephoto on the other.
Yep. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Another like you just waited a little longer time and then that's cool.
More twilight, and now the little twinkle lights come on, and
You're the only guy I know, Bob, that can make mercury vapor look good. My hat is off to you.
Yeah, well, little green never hurt anybody there.
Little green, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's beautiful, though, man. That's gorgeous. With that
worked
awesome.
out pretty well.
17. Yeah.
And this was all in 2 days. The same boat.
Wow.
Different framing. So this was all testing the a6600 when it came out. I don't know if Sony ever used any of these in their public relations and stuff, but they paid me, so I didn't much care. And I've been using them. So you get the good light and you work your different compositions. This has a little more magazine cover kind of thing too.
Main magazine for a Christmas issue, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Heck yeah.
You're a born picture writer.
Oh yeah,
man. I wish you were
could see it.
Layout of it. Yeah.
And then I just think it's cool. You've got these two different ones here.
Yeah, I gave you a little different.
One's photoshopped a little bit more. And
one's opened up a little more.
And the sky is just cool in there, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh, and then the boat came by.
Yeah.
And then there's your moment, the two boats, the little rowboat. And that was a gift, And again, you're working the situation. You're not shooting 2 frames and walking away.
Right.
I was out on a little peninsula. There was nothing else on this peninsula that was lit or it was going to look good in the twilight. So I said, I'm going to work this. I'm going to work it every which way from Sunday.
Sure.
And so
that's awesome.
So there you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. And there's another, cliche main shot of the lighthouse with the leading
Pretty
line.
Nice.
Nice. What is it called? Marshall Point Lighthouse. Everybody's shot this shot. You can't go there and not shoot it, but the twilight makes it nice. And for video, I was working with my friend Richard, and I had him walk out there and turn and shoot. He shoots a different brand of camera. Well, he did.
Okay.
I converted him.
Of course you did.
Since I've converted him. I've done the good work and converted him.
That's right.
He's a guy now. He's a former war photographer, and
oh wow,
he was with another company's, and now he's a Sony guy. But anyway,
cool.
For the video, I had him walk out, turn, shoot some pictures, and it was a real nice moment. Nice. But I didn't get it in stills. I don't think I did, unless the next still is one of those. So I don't know. Just still life, yeah. Some creative, some main creativity, down east creativity.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, that's simple. Very nice.
Simple. Trying to play on the shapes and everything of the color and there's your foreground. There's your foreground emphasis. And again, look at that -1.7.
Yep.
I was only interested in the highlights, not interested in the shadows.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's cool. Oh wow.
That's and I think this might be an in-camera. One of those.
Where it stitches it automatically.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The lazy man's way of doing panoramics.
Yep.
I tell you, there's a couple of developments like the Sony a7S3. The slow and quick mode in our cameras. Everybody's wanting to shoot slow motion in that, but it'll go down to 1 second. And if you shoot 1 second, a frame every 1 second. In slow and quick mode, it'll put together and you tell it to output it. It puts together the time lapse in camera, so you don't have to mess with it at all. So on most cameras, it'll only do 1080, but on the A7S3, it'll output a 4K time lapse at 1 frame per second. That's as slow as it goes. I wish that they would offer like a 3 second, one every 3 seconds,
Yeah.
one every 5 seconds.
Right.
But for like people walking in cities and things
Sure.
where people
Sure.
happening, 1 second is plenty. And
Yeah.
again, this was part of the parameters of my assignment on a lot of those jet trips that I've been doing. Is on the last night of the trip, I have to have a 30-minute little rough cut of the documentary done. So
Wow.
I'm
Oh
not
my
going to be
gosh.
in my hotel room processing time lapses.
Yeah.
But the
No.
slow and quick mode, oh my
Works
God,
great.
it
Yeah.
was
Slow and
great.
quick is amazing. I
Yeah.
just, it's addictive though, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, I love it. Um, yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Okay, that's it. I've got the,
All right.
I'm going to come back to the main thing. And my apologies to you, Bob, and also to everybody watching that I was actually looking at these images and there was one that came up that was black and I deleted it and that was the video. So I don't have that video.
Oh,
I apologize. I
oh, that's all right.
apologize.
That's all right. No
But
worries.
I'm sure you can go to bobkrist.com and see it, right?
Well, I think it's on. I think it's on my Vimeo site. Yeah.
Here's what I'll do. I will link to it in the description below. Okay, so I'll
Okay.
put it in there so you
All
can
right.
see it because
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Because it'll be interesting to see how many of those stills that we looked at
that's right.
pop up as video frames.
Yes,
And you'll see the
exactly.
difference between looking for movement within the frame or moving the camera if there's no movement for video, as opposed to what we look for stills.
Yep.
But in my
Yeah.
case, again, you got 2 days and you got to ship that camera top secret back to San Diego.
Exactly.
You got to move fast, you
You
know?
better. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Well, I just thank you so much for talking to us about APS-C, and you snuck in a lot of, that RX10, which I still have my RX10 too. And I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that. I use mine on a jib arm as a video
Yeah.
camera.
Oh, yeah.
It's so
The
fantastic.
RX2 was
Oh,
even smaller and
yep.
24 to 200 with a
And
built-in
2.8
ND.
all the way through. Yep.
Oh man, I wish I bought a couple more of those before they discontinued. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, that's
they're
cool.
excellent cameras. But yeah, no, I mean, I think just people in general don't worry about full format versus APS-C. The quality is there. There are certain small differences, but it's the mobility. It's getting to the right place at the right time. It's knowing your equipment. And all that stuff. That's the important thing. And fortunately, Sony gives us many levels of what we want to spend. And from
Right.
the 1 inch sensor to the APS-C to the full frame. So you have your choice of entry levels. And I know plenty of professionals working with APS-C, especially older guys who don't buy into a lot of the YouTube stuff.
Sure.
So, your viewers should know, don't feel that this is holding you back, because it isn't. You have the same range of creativity. The only thing that's holding you back is your brain and your legs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I use a lot of the APS-C cameras and lenses for remotes because you can put
Sure.
tiny little cameras in place you can't put a big DSLR or even a full frame camera.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and
you
as for
sports guys, you got to every split second counts. So, the A92s and the A1s and
Right.
stuff like that. I'm so
Right.
glad I don't do sports.
Well, yeah,
Because
it's
I can spend all that extra money on lobsters and oysters and cold beer.
and wine. Yeah, right,
wine,
right, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I hear you. No, sports photography at this point is a race to the bottom. So it's great. Come on in, come on in. Everybody's doing it. It's all great.
No. You need your reflexes, man, are fabulous. Your images are unbelievable. I follow that Sony sports group, and man,
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much talent in there, and I love that it's people from all over the world. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about Sony Alpha Sports, which is a Facebook group that I have on
Yeah.
Facebook. It's great.
It is.
But Bob, thank you so much. You've been wonderful to take time and talk to us, and
My
I
pleasure,
appreciate it so
PMR.
much. And
Anytime, brother.
yeah.
Anytime.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
All righty. See ya.
All right, cool.